What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Cervantes podcast. Joining me today to discuss toxic masculinity and how it is damaging to young men and the world at large is film studies and production major, WRHU anchor, business and entertainment reporter, and community service chair, Eboard member for Blacks in the Union, Frank Shields, community health major and biochemistry minor, orientation leader, resident assistant, pride guide, equity and inclusion chair for Student Government Association, and fundraising chair for Blacks in the Union, Will Germaine, and psychology major and treasurer for Black Student Union, Domingo Johnson. What's up, guys? How are you?
Good.
Hey, great.
Thank you for
Hey,
being
thank
here.
you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
How do you define masculinity?
Hmm.
I mean, it differs from person to person. Well, yeah. Um, I think masculinity is just like how you carry yourself. There isn't one way to be masculine. Um, it
Right,
shouldn't have to be like, always being strong, never showing fear, things like that. It should just be existing and
right,
being a human man, no matter how you identify, and just being allowed to be yourself.
right. Frank?
I think in a certain sense, it's like a social construct, and it's like the attributes or behaviors that define you as a man. Like in relation to what Will said, like a lot of it is like how manly you are, testing your manliness and and a lot of times that can lead to like other negative outcomes like homophobia and just violence against women as well sometimes. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. And you, Domingo?
I feel like to me, like masculinity, I feel like it's a very broad term. Like I feel like over time, as I've gotten older, it's changed that definition. And like how society has changed over time. But I feel like masculinity is kind of like just traits that you have as a man if you identify as a man. Um, I guess that's how I would see it. But I know in society, it's certain traits, certain stereotypical traits that define what masculinity is. So, like I said, it's like a very broad spectrum, and I feel like there's no right or wrong answer to it.
Right. I agree with all you guys. I think that sometimes the media, our parents, society, film and television, they have this one view of what it means to be a man for especially like for certain men of like different races. So I feel like I'm sure white dads and white men teach their sons how to be a certain way. But black men and Hispanic men and so on and so forth. So I think sometimes it's like everyone has like a specific type, and it's like if you don't fit that type, you're looked at as like unmanly, feminine, gay, and it's like that could be very harmful for young boys growing up who hear that because we absorb what our parents tell us, children. So like if a little kid hears at home a certain thing about how a man should act, then he goes to school and he sees like another little boy is not acting the way his dad taught him to be like, then he's gonna make fun of that kid, and then that's how bullying starts and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think it's up to you, and I think there's no one way. The same way how there's no one way to be black, there's no one way to be a man, and I think we gotta, our future sons and the next generation should understand that, and even us now growing up, we still have a lot of life to live. So, I agree with all you guys. What would you say, or what do you say to people who say that toxic masculinity does not exist?
They're probably a toxic man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. Yes. No.
yeah. I feel like I've heard that a lot in like, certain locker rooms when I went to all boys school in the barbershop. I feel like I've heard like, oh, like they have an agenda and like all this stuff and it's not real and like certain people made that up. You can fill in the blank. And I think that if you don't address the problem, then it's never gonna get fixed. So I think what I would say to people is like, no, it is real. And then that's why you're saying the things that you do. That's why people are getting bullied, people are getting killed, you know, for certain things, the way they act, the way they speak, the things that they believe in. So yeah, I think that's what I would say. Like it is real, and let's have a conversation. Let's not curse each other out. It isn't like let's have a conversation or like debate, you know?
And the issue with that, sorry,
Oh no, yeah.
um, the issue with that is that a lot of times you'll want to have that conversation, but it either gets like dismissive or very heated very fast because they don't want to be called wrong and they don't want to, acknowledge the existence of something that they do that's wrong.
Yeah.
And the only excuse they do knowledge is that old timeless quote that they always keep saying, boys will be boys. What does
Yeah,
that mean? What does that even mean?
Right. And then
right.
that gets into rape culture. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like he liked her, or like she was wearing no clothes, or she was wearing a short dress, she asked for it, all those stuff. It's like it turns into very harmful things, and not it's not just like a boys wear blue or something like that, or like you got to talk like this or play these sports. It can lead to, you know, rape culture and very sexual harassment and all that stuff. So that's very true. Oh, were you ever bullied or teased for being soft or not having a lot of sexual partners, like being made fun of for not being what society thinks a man should behave or act like?
Yeah. Um, for
That's
me, I'm a really, I'm a really emotional person. I guess like I'm in touch with my emotional side. I cry pretty often. That didn't go well with my Jamaican father. So I got called soft, called crybaby, all those things. Um, other words that I prefer not to say. Um, things like even hey, got cussed out 2 weeks ago because I put beads in my head, and it's not straight to do that. It's yeah. So it happens often for me, but I think I've learned to deal with it, learned to move on, not let it bother me.
Yeah, that's important. I remember like growing up, I'm Jamaican too, and I remember like hearing a lot like, oh, like you only need to cry if somebody dies or like you get into a bad accident. And I feel like that's not realistic. So whenever I'm feeling sad or I need to vent, I just need to bottle up inside. Like that's not healthy. Because one day I'm going to, and I spoke about this in the Black Male Stereotypes episode. Go check that out. Um, I think sometimes if you bottle up your emotions too much, one day it's like you're gonna blow up on someone that doesn't deserve it. Whether it's like a friend, a teacher, your girlfriend, like you're gonna it's like, oh, like I'm not really mad at you for doing this. I'm mad at what happened 2 years ago on May 15th at 8 o'clock. Like, you know what I mean? Like it can lead to like bad things. So I think, yeah, you should be able to cry and talk about how you feel and, you know, have friends, guys or girls to talk to. And that shouldn't be looked at as feminine or you're less of a man for doing that. Cause I think you're more of a man for speaking up about what what you deserve or how that affected you or how you were offended. So yeah,
Because I'm like people who know me, like I'm pretty like sentimental, like I'm a pretty emotional person. Like Will said, um, I feel like though to me, like I feel like part of me doesn't go to like my guy family members or my guy friends to be emotional. Like usually I'll go to like my grandma, my mom, or like my girl that are friends, like because I feel that they will make you feel more comfort and they will be there for you instead of less being like, oh, stop crying. What you crying for? Like quit acting like a little girl. And I think that's kind of just been built into my head. Like I can't be, vulnerable to my guy friends because that's problematic. That's that goes into homophobia. It's just ridiculous. I mean, and I feel like as black guys, like as black men, like yes, we understand. Like only black people can understand the black experience, but like black men can only understand each other, and like sometimes you just need a brother to cry on, and unfortunately, that's not everyone sees it that way.
Yeah, it's not always available sometimes. Mm-hmm. Frank?
Yeah. And there definitely is a toxicity in like specifically like black men in general. And just like I'm a very emotional person as well. So there was a time like when I didn't know why I would cry, you know, and just for a couple of years I just bust out crying, but don't know why, but you know, and I was told like suck the tears up. All right, be a man,
Yep.
suck the tears up. All right, don't get too emotional. It's like we suppress those emotions for so long, you don't know how
Yeah.
to release them. It's going to become poison to yourself, you know. And I'll admit I've had struggles like showing my emotions because I done that for a while. Like I bottled up the way I felt before, you know. And there are times when I myself struggle to show, you know, what's really going on with me. I have it's like we grow a habit of internalizing everything, you know, and not willing to share like what's really going on. We just hide behind a facade, a mask, and it's
Yeah.
really poison.
Yeah, because it's yeah, you don't want to I feel like as guys sometimes we're only allowed to talk about if we're being like emotional, it's like we're only allowed to talk about being angry about something. I feel like anger is accepted, or like oh, look at that girl or something like that, or like like only certain things, sports, women, and like how angry we are about LeBron losing the playoffs or whatever. Like that's the only thing, and I think that's problematic. You know, there's more to life than sports and women and music. Like, you know, we should be able to get deep about like something that's bothering us, mental health, you know, and we shouldn't be laughed at or looked at as like, oh, like what's wrong with him, or like he's crazy or he's feminine or something like that. So did you have a good example growing up on how to be a good man?
I think I did. Yeah. There would be times when I was told something that thinking back on it today probably wasn't the best advice, but I think for the most part, like I think I was raised well to be in touch with my masculine side, but not let that get over my head, you know, and not, you know, enforce all these behaviors and attributes that go in line with toxic masculinity, because it's common sense, but it's like in today's society, it's like dudes don't know how to get a grip on such and such, and just abuse like their masculine side because they think since they're the masculine gender, they have power over everybody else, you know. And but I would say personally, I think I had a good role model with my father, you know, for the most part. And there are times when before when I felt like I couldn't show like what was fully going on with my emotions. Over time, as years pass, we've grown to understood each other, and he's seen that in me. Like he's recognized like what I had to do in the past, like to just suppress all that what I was dealing with.
I think in ways like I did have like a good influence growing up. My dad, he wasn't really in my life, so I didn't really have like that man figure growing up. But I feel like that man figure kind of was like shaped in me from my mom, like my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents. And I feel like there are some things that they've taught me that I now like disagree with, or like now I feel like are kind of toxic. But maybe that's how they were raised to think, and that's just what they're trying to break down to me because I think it's right. But I think in ways like I was raised by my mom a lot, and I feel like my mom as a woman, um, I feel like she taught me it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to cry, you know, because I've seen her cry and I've seen my sister cry. So I like grew around women a lot, and I feel that like part of their traits have kind of shaped me into who I am. And like, I feel that I am okay being sad and crying. Like I'm more okay with like, I guess, being more like vulnerable and like stop trying to have like this like masculine figure that, you know, the world, you know, wants me to have, you know.
Right. And I think you being raised by strong women, that's gonna help you when you get into relationships. You're gonna hopefully know how to communicate with your wife or girlfriend and like, okay, like, I've had a good example of what it is. I might not have my dad in my life a lot, but I have good example of women so that I know moving forward when I grow up that I can treat women respectfully, know how to properly communicate, and that can help you. And I think that even though you might like for people who don't like have absentee fathers, you can look to like an uncle or a cousin or maybe a grandfather or maybe people on social media or people on the internet who you know they what am I trying to say, they are examples of what it means to be a good man. Like I feel like LeBron James, I feel like Obama, I feel like there's a bunch of people who are great dads and great black men for you to like aspire to be like, or maybe take some type of, some gems that they drop that you can apply to your own life. And people who write books about toxic masculinity and how to be a good man in society. There's plenty of people for that. So yeah. Will?
Yeah. Like I have my dad, but honestly, he's emotionally unavailable. I don't think we've ever had like a proper conversation over something that we disagreed on without it being an argument. Um, but I learned a lot from my mom. She's a strong woman. She just got her doctorate, so very strong woman. Um, so she's helped me through stuff. I think her having those like preconceived notions, being a woman from Jamaica herself, she she's like throughout the years grown to realize that certain things about like masculinity um, isn't the best. There's some sometimes where we disagree, but I think I've learned a lot from my mom and like those around me growing up. And then like having friends like you guys where like if I'm crying, I don't have to feel embarrassed. Or like if I'm feeling emotional, I don't have to feel like, I gotta hide something or like I gotta suck it up before showing up. Like we can talk about it.
Yeah. Have you guys had tough conversations with your dads, and has it helped? Like, oh, like dad, like I'm feeling like this and like, can you try to understand where I'm coming from? Have you had that conversation and has it ever worked? And have you like it's a lot of questions, but like have you given up and just like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need to go there with you with my dad or you know.
Um, Hello. For me, it's so me being like a bigger guy, my dad's always like kind of like looked down on me. I can tell like it bothers him, but he doesn't have like the emotional capacity to talk about it in a proper way with me. So a lot of times he does end up saying what he shouldn't say. And at one point, it got overloaded. I got overloaded emotionally because I am the type to hold things in and not let it bother me and not let him show me that he's getting to me. And at one point, like his only way of like showing emotions properly is like screaming. So it got to the point at one point where I was the one that was screaming and just letting out all these emotions that I wouldn't say that I didn't know that I had, but were so like I guess compartmentalized that I didn't know that they were still there. Um, I won't say that things got the best after, but there was certainly some kind of understanding that like the stuff you say it bothers me and you should like take some time to listen to what you're saying before you say it.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. uh,
Um, I think one thing definitely, well, to preface, us brothers being in the Black community, seeking help and therapy is not a common thing. People would tell you, like, a lot of times your family, parents are probably like, prayer is the key, you know, but prayer is not gonna not gonna always help your emotional issues and all that. So it's the logical thing to actually seek professional help, you know. And for a while now, like my dad and I, we never really talked about that before. It wasn't until college, like actually like a couple years ago, that I come back, you know, because my grandfather had passed, and it was both an emotional toll and a weight on both of us. And first time ever, he brought up therapy. I was like, wow, really? It's like, yeah, and he said that thing would be good for us, and he admitted, like, I know, like, us black men, like, it's not the common thing to do, and it's always that, oh, you just deal with it, you know, and like you don't need help, you don't need somebody to study you or classify what your problems are. But I think that was one of like the first things that really opened my eyes, like actually, you know, like talking about, you know, my emotions and how I'm really feeling. And that was a real touching moment to me, you know, to actually for him to acknowledge like how we both like how therapy would be helpful for both of us. And I really appreciate that.
That's a great first step because I think, like we said before, therapy is, looked down upon for like in the black community, especially the religious black community. It's like you crazy, like just go to church, like you'll be okay. And I think what was I gonna say? I think that being able to talk to a third party person that doesn't know you, that's not related to you in a appropriate setting, that can really help, and whether it's you and your dad or just you, which might be better, for you to just vent and just talk about how you feel, maybe the therapist or the psychologist can help you come to an understanding on like, oh, like this is childhood trauma, and like generational trauma, and how we can solve that for you in your life and your dad as well, because we got to break the stigma. It's mental health matters, and I think nothing's wrong with admitting that you need help, because you don't want it to be too late and then it ends to something really bad. So I agree.
One vulnerable moment I think I had with my dad was like it was my sophomore year of like at Hofstra, and I just remember like I was just in a wrong headspace. Like I just remember that being like such a hard semester, the first semester of sophomore year. And I think I remember my grandma leaving my dad a voice when she was like, your son is like not doing so good. Like you need to go check on him. And my dad called me instantly because like, no, you don't play with my grandma, and I just kind of asked him, I was like, like, why haven't you been there? Like, why weren't you there? Like, you never came to any of my graduations. Like, you never came to anything important. Like, why haven't you been there in my life? And I just don't remember what he said exactly. But the one thing I know he said, he was just like, like when you graduated high school, when you turned 18, I just feel like you didn't need me anymore. And to me, like, I think I needed that conversation to just kind of accept that, I don't know, just to kind of accept that some kind of closure, because I feel like I'm kind of far in my life, never close the door. But I feel like I'm in a point of my life where like I'm very used to not having my dad around, and I'm very used to not. And I'm okay with, possibly never having that figure in my life, because I'm so used to not having it. So it's like, it's going to like saying dad sounds so weird to me. It's so weird coming out of my mouth. Wow. So I just feel like that was a conversation where I was very vulnerable with my dad for the first time, because there were just a lot of things that, we were never able to solve, because I always had to be like not emotional with them, like hide that emotion with my dad. And that was the first time we could actually connect on a more emotional level.
Yeah. Do you feel like that conversation gave you closure and like you're able to move on? Or do you feel like you just said that last part, like I'm so used to not him not being there, so it's like, oh, like I'm good. Like, great that you have now acknowledged your absence, but I'm good.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as that. Like my family always tells me, never close the door on something because you can have something that's like that can be amazing. I can have an amazing relationship with my dad in the future. Um, he could be a good grandparent to my kids. If I ever have kids.
Right.
And I guess like to me, I saw that as possibly leaving the door like open. But I
Yeah.
also just kind of felt like we needed like some confirmation, because we didn't talk for a long time. I haven't seen my dad since 2017, like 2016,
Wow.
2017. So
Wow.
I do talk to him. I do reach out to him, but I don't feel the need to have him in my life. And I think that's okay. And that's not a bad thing. I don't have any bad, you know, anger towards him. It's just, is what it is.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta love people from afar. And I know there's probably gonna be people listening or in the comments like, what is he talking about? You gotta honor thy father, whatever that Bible scripture says. And I think that no, sometimes it's okay to to cut ties with somebody or love someone from afar, because you 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 don't not everyone's gonna be, because this world is so big and like we all have different lives and emotions, and you know that doesn't mean like you don't need to be best buddies with your dad or your mom. Like, it's okay as long as you have some type of loving figure, parent, guardian, because there's people who are adopted and there's people who don't have a home or whatever, don't have a lot of loved ones. So as long as you have one or two people that really care about you and love you and um care about your well-being, that's all that matters. So if that's your mom or that's your grandma or somebody else, that's okay. And as long as you are, you can be respectful, of course, to your dad, and reach out every now and then and introduce him, like you said, to your future children and his grandchildren. That's okay. I you don't it's not it wouldn't be genuine for you to all of a sudden like go to the movies or like I don't know, like for something, like out of the blue, now you're best friends. That's not realistic. So I agree with what you're saying, and I think that's okay. And you're definitely not alone with that. You don't need to. Not everyone is gonna have a super close relationship with their parents, and I think we gotta normalize that. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self?
It's okay. Just like everything will be okay, and just feel what you feel, and don't let anybody's opinions, anybody's um, internalized like homophobia, internalized toxic masculinity hold you back from being who you want to be and being your most genuine self.
Um, I would say it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. You know, it's okay to show some type of emotion and not just be a rock. You know, and
Not just anger or lust for a woman. Like, it's okay to feel the other emotions. Yeah.
exactly. Oh, and it's just be open to how you're really feeling, and don't try to hide, and seek help. You know, if even if you don't think you feel like you need help, it's not a bad idea to go seek it out anyway. You know, you don't all then not it's not always a case where something you're going through at that moment, like you can you can go and seek help at any time. You don't always have to be dealing with a conflict or you're emotionally unsure or a wreck at that moment. You know, go seek professional help.
Yeah. Seek help if you need it,
Yeah.
for sure.
I guess I would tell my younger self, um, stop worrying about the outside noise because at the end of the day, it's not going to matter in a year, 2 years, 5 years because um, you will start to not give a fuck about that. I just know that in middle school, like I was bullied for just how I dressed or what I like to do, and now just like I just don't care. You know, it's just like I wish I appreciated who I was then and stopped trying to be someone for other people. I guess I would tell myself that like what you are being bullied about or what people are talking about or what you think people might not like you about is not going to matter later down the line. It's just outside noise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I could totally relate to that. Like I would tell, middle school Cervantes, high school Cervantes, like it's okay that you're skinny. It's okay that you don't look like Michael B. Jordan. It's okay that you're nerdy or you don't have Gucci or the newest Jordans or a fresh lineup every week. Like all that stuff that we place, like men, black men growing up, it's okay that you don't have that stuff. And everyone is different. It's so cliche, but like everyone is different and we all have gifts to offer. And you don't need to be a copy of someone else just because that's what men look like in TV and movies. That's what the popular kid in school looks like. That's what our parents are telling us. So that's so true.
Like to me, I just see it as like it doesn't make you less of a man if you don't like sports. It doesn't make you less of a man if you like listening to like women artists. Like it doesn't make you less of a man if you like dressing what they would consider feminine. Like that's, I guess, yeah, that's how I
leave
see
people
it.
alone. Like leave people alone.
Yeah. And also like who are you to determine if something is gay or not? Like a lot of the times, growing up, like if I wore pink, that would be gay. Or if I wore
you gotta say salmon or some color.
Right, a feminine color would be called girly. Like, bro, if I like lavender, I like lavender. Like it's like I'm not gonna get killed because I'm wearing a color that is feminine. Like, who are you to determine that?
It's a color.
Yeah, it's a damn color. The shirt still fits me. I'm gonna wear it.
Exactly.
Right.
Even like I'm gonna let you speak, Frank, but I was gonna say this one thing. I remember like when Justin Bieber was getting big when we were in middle school, and like I think he said his favorite color was purple, and like because Justin Bieber has a large female audience, it's like for some reason, like if a male artist had a big female audience, it's like if you're a guy that listens to them, it's seen as like weird. But it's like, why? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make like Usher, Justin Bieber. I'm trying to think of other people, but yeah, like that's so weird. One Direction, like, oh, why do you like, why are you so like hung up over what teenage girl? Like, people hate teenage girls. Like, it's so weird.
And also,
Why are you so hung up on what someone else likes?
Yeah,
like, it doesn't have anything to do with you.
A lot of the time when someone's like in touch with their feminine side, it's like, are you gay? It's like, no. No. I'm straight, but I can sing a Meg Thee Stallion song. I can rap a Doja verse. I can call Beyonce the queen and sing Formation because I sing Formation and I'm still straight.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So Frank, I'm gonna let you speak. What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it's okay to be black and not be good at basketball.
Preach. Preach. I am trash. I can bounce the ball from center to the right side of the net, and that is all.
Right.
I don't even know in all the positions if like one in basketball. Like I can't even tell you one person that probably plays on the Sacramento Kings. I'm from Sacramento, so
it's like the minute you can't dribble consistently, it's like, oh, this nigga can't.
And it hurts more when like the white guys like make you feel bad. Like damn.
like damn, like
like the stereotype that black men own like Jordans and Air Force One. I didn't have my first pair of Jordans until a month ago.
Really? I never
Like,
had Jordan. I never
For
had.
some, it's like, oh my
Same.
God, Will, what? And it's like,
right.
that's
And
his-
they were given to me. It's not even like I bought them. It was like, oh, I have Jordans now, cool. And like, the idea that we need to be materialistic, especially with clothes. Like
oh yeah, Gucci belt and Gucci wallet and
if you catch me in a Gucci belt, please call the cops because I'm not okay.
yeah, like the emphasis on
They
designer.
need to,
Like you have to
yeah. Like I will go to the thrift store and buy a Target shirt and some random pair of pants, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I hate to say it because I don't want to be, you know, down on our people, but I think sometimes it's black men that do that. Like
It's always black men.
you gotta
Always black men.
you gotta
You
look the
gotta
part all
sugarcoat
the
it.
time. But then I go to a PWI school, you know, I leave public school, go to a PWI school, or I go to college, and white guys are not, they do other stuff, but they're not they don't
They
place
don't have a
emphasis on
norm.
stuff like that, you know.
They don't have a norm. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to clothing. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not letting them off the hook. They do other stuff, but
Mhm, mhm.
the
Yeah,
emphasis isn't on clothing, you know. Don't want to leave them off the hook, but yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
definitely music. Like, I'll be honest, my favorite genre of music is not rap. All right, it's not. All right,
Same.
And that's
I like alternative music. Okay, I'm a black guy that likes alternative and pop music. All right.
That's
Yo,
okay.
I got clowned for blasting Paramore when I was in eighth. I had like my best friend. He was also black. He was like, "You listen to this?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it's fine. Like I'm here blasted by music, getting turned like playing Katy Perry, all that, and they're like, "Ah, nah." Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
like-
I'll listen to a Drake song, but the next song is probably gonna be something crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I'll go from Ariana Grande to Biggie Smalls to this one and that, like back and forth, you know. And my sister like always laughs, like, "Wow, like you're the only person that does that," but it's okay, you know. Not you don't need to know all the lyrics to Dreams and Nightmares. You don't need to have a whole bunch of rap artists in your playlist. That's cool. There's no, like we always say, we're not, black men are not monolithic. When do you think a boy becomes a man? Like, when do you think that shift happens? Because I think a lot of people have this false perception where it's like, oh, like it's about how many bodies you have, or, you know, when you get married, or like when you go to college, like it's people have like different milestones or like really bad milestones. Like, oh, I got 6 baby mamas, I'm a man. Like, what?
I think it's
So-
based on emotional maturity. And if you base it on that, a lot of grown people are boys.
Yes, because age does not equal maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, when I turn 18 or when I turn 21, then I'm a man. It depends on, you know, your, like you just said, mental and emotional intelligence. Do you have any? Yeah.
And if
The
you're mature
will,
enough for that too, yeah.
false perception. For me, I think it's a combination of what Will said and also having, I think, financial freedom. I think, yeah, maybe
Financial
when you do leave your,
responsibility.
yeah, you
Because you
know,
can have financial freedom and waste money.
that's true. Yeah. So it's probably not just one answer, but I wanted like what your take was.
yeah, I feel like it's a mixture of like, maturity, age, financial status. I think my family always said if you start paying the bills, that's when you a man, But I feel like it's just a combination of things. Like I think I'm a man, I don't have a job, but I go to school across the country from home. I can take care of myself. I'm 21. I feel like I understand how the world works almost, not completely. And I guess I know how to be a human and treat others the way I would want to be treated. I think that's what makes me a man, because I identify as a man. So I think in ways like I am a man, but I still feel like childish in ways. But
Yeah, because we're in our 20s. Will is still 19. And we have a lot of growing up to do, especially like through our 20s. And life is never ending. We're always learning. So are we ever gonna know everything and like, oh, I got it all figured out? No. But I think I definitely don't feel like a child anymore. I definitely feel like I am an adult, and I might not be where my parents are at or where certain adults are at, but I saw like this meme that said like, oh, adults are just kids with money, So I think sometimes I see adults and I'm like, that guy is like a child. I feel more adult like than he is. So it all depends, you guys said.
so do you feel like you're a man? Do you guys feel like you're a man?
I do, for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like I have the emotional maturity to like talk out a situation without yelling and cursing and then like attacking the person's character or just like appearance instead of like actually having a conversation.
Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Why are you talking about my weight? Why are you talking about how I look? We're talking about this.
Right.
That is so true. And a lot of times I think oh, I'm talking louder, so now I'm right and you're wrong. Like
Yeah.
what? I have bass in my voice, so that means that your point is invalid. What? What are we talking
And
about?
also like why are you getting loud? They like try to do that with you, but like they're the one blasting, like getting louder. And I'm like, I'm just
I
matching
am
your
not
level.
yelling. I am not yelling at you.
I'm not yelling at you. What are you yelling at me?
Last question for you guys. Do you think men will ever get better? Us as men, is there hope? Do you have hope at all?
Yeah, I'll say this generation is different than most. Others were raised on just respecting um, for like provisions, while we're raised on like emotional need and respecting those who can provide that and see that as something that's viable.
I think I do have hope. I think over time, like our emotional intelligence, for instance, I think we're the generation that's actually acknowledging that, like well, I think a lot of times we're not going to get that conversation with our parents. They're going to be like, emotional intelligence, what's that? But I think we're going to be do better, and I think the generations that follow after us, I think hopefully they continue that, and I see a better outcome for us than our future than previous generations.
Yeah, like it's not about being so strict on your daughter and telling her that she got to become a nun and lock her in the house and throw away the key. It's not about that. It's about teaching our sons to be better and think before you act, and you know treat women with respect. Treat black women with respect. Um, yeah, I agree with that.
Too. I am hopeful. I think us four are like well polished like men, and I feel that our dads have helped some of us, and also the women in our life have helped us, and I just feel like honestly, women are raising good men. So I gotta get hats off to all the women out there. But it also has to come to a point where men were raised good men, and I think that where we're at as people and how we've been taught um, at hostel or just taught, by our family, I think that we will bring that to our children, and we will change what our parents may have taught us that we don't feel that is okay. We will change that and give that to them, and then they will continue that cycle. So I think like our generation is a good start to changing that. And there are some people in our generation that just are, out of place. But I am hopeful that our generation is going to make a difference. And toxic masculinity will always be there, but it will be probably less of a thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think every generation is a little different than the last one, but I think like us, like growing up with the internet and social media and all the things that make us different than our parents and the generations before us. We're so outspoken when it comes to, gun control, police brutality, Time's Up, Me Too, um, LGBTQ movements. Like, we're very outspoken, and we hold people accountable. It can get a little problematic with like cancel culture. It's like, oh, now everyone's canceled, but we're very outspoken, and I think that we are very smart, and I think that's what sets us apart and will ultimately lead to a successful future for all of us, and hopefully the world at large. So yeah, I agree with that. I think we're gonna have to. It's gonna come to a point where we're gonna have uncomfortable conversations with the good men and the men that have these toxic mindsets, because it's not rocket science not be to not have your masculinity be toxic. It's not hard. It's not, if we all could do it, and we're not alone, not just these people on the Zoom call, we're not alone. So if other men get with the program, if we can get with the program, why can't other men? So I agree with that. I just want to recommend to everyone this book from actor and author Justin Baldoni, Man Enough, Undefining Masculinity. He has a great TED Talk that you guys check out from 2018. I think he dropped this book back in April of this year or last month. And I just got it, so I'm really excited to read it, because I think he is a good example of someone who he had some toxic mindsets that he went to therapy and spoke about with his wife and his friends, and really did the work to get where he is now. So I think that's a good example. And of course, it's not all men are a certain way. I don't want people coming after me, but it's a problem. It's a patriarchy and all that stuff. It's a problem. So then we have to change that. Thank you guys for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. You can follow Will on Instagram at WillTHG, Frank at YEROC74, and Domingo at Domingo Johnson Jr. Be sure to leave a rating for the Cervantes podcast on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the Cervantes Podcast YouTube channel, and click the notification bell up top so you're notified whenever I upload a new episode. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one.